We are all in this boat together. Sometimes it's our turn to jump in the water, and other times it's our turn to stand on deck and clasp the hands of our loved ones and pray. In her essay, Kindred Memory, Unitarian Universalist minister Reverend Ruth Mackenzie writes of a miniature 16th century ship that hangs from the ceiling of every Danish church. In the Danish tradition, the ship is meant to symbolize this one inarguable fact: we are all in this boat together. And the Danes do not hang that ship above the chancel or the pulpit, but over the body of the congregation to remind us that we are all sitting side by side in that boat. We are meant to put our oars in the water together and pull in mutual effort. The storms may be mighty, the waves rough and frighteningly high, but we are meant to navigate this life together. This past week, a 40-year-old gay man in Chicago shared the following story. I used to manage an LGBT bookstore, back when bookstores were a thing. One night, someone called the store and said he thought that he might be gay and was considering self-harm. The bookstore was not a crisis center, and I didn't have any training, but it's where the person knew to call, so he did. And I figured as long as we're talking, he's safe, right? So I talk to this guy and I answer his questions, and I'm trying to be encouraging, but I'm probably sounding a little bit frantic, and I'm definitely ignoring the 4 or 5 other customers in the store. And then one of them puts her hand on my shoulder and asks for the phone. My turn, she says. In 2018, the American Journal of Preventative Medicine published a study that showed LGBTQ youth and young adults are more likely to consider self-harm and suicide than their heterosexual peers. The same study also showed that being religious decreased suicidality among heterosexual youth. For every increase in the importance of religion in a young, straight person's life, there was a 17% reduction in suicide attempts, suggesting that religion might help protect against suicide for straight youth. However, for every increase in the importance of religion to LGBTQ youth, suicidal ideation increased. The study did not ask questions about whether the religion's theology was queer-affirming or not. However, I have seen the evidence in our Unitarian Universalist youth, both in this congregation and also all across the country, of the positive life-saving effects of our queer-affirming theology and queer-affirming education in our whole lives. What we believe and what we say and do as religious people matters. It makes a difference in the lives of people who are already in this boat with us, and it matters to people who are out there looking for us but have not found us yet. We steward this ship for those who come after us. And our ancestors built the boat that we're in right now for us. We stand between the past and the future. This congregation was founded in 1842, at least 3 generations before any of us were born. and 7 generations before our youngest members joined us. We have the privilege of benefiting from this congregation and this faith because of the faithful stewardship of people who did this for us long before we were born. Over 175 years, hundreds of different people have built and grown what it means to be a member of this church, a boat full of people rowing together through waves and storms on the mighty sea. Each of us has a role here, a place to put our oars in the water and pull. That role is going to change and sometimes be spelled by rest, but working together, each in our own role of the moment, we are stronger, more resilient, and make more of a difference in each other's lives and in the world. Last week at our youth service, our youth shared with us their varying journeys of identity. Most of their time up until this point at church has been steeped in studenting, in being students here. But in last week's service, they shifted into a new role, teaching. Our youth taught me about the power of relationship between vulnerability and truth. When Gus Pointer Mace shared their journey of identity, how they have come to understand themselves as white and non-binary and as a lesbian, they said, "I constantly make myself vulnerable in order to be heard." I was floored by the simple poignancy of that in their vulnerability is power, the power of truth, but that strength comes through exposing tenderness. Our youth moved into a new role in this congregation last week, the role of leadership, storytelling, and teaching. The 7th generation of our church taking the phone and saying, "My turn." Our boat is full of examples of people moving into the right role at the right moment, each of us pulling when it is our turn, resting when we need to rest. Just today, one of our scheduled singers in the band was sick, so our choral scholar, Nicole McCarty, stepped in at the very last minute. Thank you so much. Great sermon illustration. I appreciate it. Next week, our religious education coordinator is going to be at a doula training, so one of our youth is going to be sharing the story for all ages. And today, Pat McFarland stepped up and shared her stewardship testimonial with you all, one of the many people who have said yes when the pledge team called, and inviting you also to say yes today, too. As a community, we journey together through all of life's transitions in this ship. The burgeoning joy of new life and new leadership, and the pain of death and of loss. These realities are held together in the timber of the boat. It was a hard thing today to light a candle of life for 2 people who died in 1 week. And as Phil and Betty both began journeying towards death, I saw our members move into position. Each of us sitting down to row in our places. Ministers, pastoral care associates, and the people close to the dying, sitting down to do the work as they always do when death comes. And because Phil was also the husband of our director of administration, I saw even more people move into position. Our board, our treasurer, our finance committee, and other staff members all get ready to do whatever was needed so that Jean could step away from her leadership role and just be with her husband. This is what it means to be a community, to be there for one another through the whole range of life. In that LGBTQ bookstore in Chicago, where the frantic feeling, non-crisis center trained staff member was trying to talk that caller off the ledge of self-harm, and a 50-year-old lesbian customer walked up and took the phone and said, "My turn." When she took the phone and started talking to the caller herself, a line formed behind her. The rest of the customers in the bookstore walked up and got in line, ready to take a turn talking to that caller. They knew that call. They knew the feeling, and everyone was ready to put their oar in the water and pull. We need one another. We need one another, as George Odell wrote, when we mourn and would be comforted. We need one another when we're in trouble and are afraid. We need one another when we are in despair, in temptation, and need to be recalled to our best selves again. We need one another when we would accomplish some great purpose and cannot do it alone. We need one another in the hour of success when we look for someone to share our triumphs, and we need one another in the hour of defeat when with encouragement we might endure and stand again. And we need one another when we have come to die and would have gentle hands prepare us for the journey. We need one another in this boat we're sailing in. This boat saves people's lives. It holds people in care at the end of their lives, and it carries their loved ones on. It transforms us on the journey. This is not a casual faith. This is not just some place we come on Sunday mornings. We are here for one another's lives. And our work is not simply to steward this ship for today. Our work is to keep it healthy and sailing and thriving for all the travelers yet to come. Reverend Mackenzie writes, "The ship is also placed above our heads to remind us of another truth. We are not at the helm. This ship we share is guided by the divine. Guided by God, by the mystery, by the spirit of love and life, by something larger than you or me or any of our efforts. It's our work as human beings to pull in rhythm with what is good and just and grace-filled in this world. This is our work. This is what we are meant to do together. Fellow travelers, look around. See who is with you on the journey, and then row May it be so. We're at the close of our pledge drive today, so we're going to have a celebration stewardship ritual celebrating our commitment to this community. Everyone at every pledge level, including waivers, is invited to participate in this ritual by coming forward and placing your pledge cards in the baskets on the tables. Now, if you've already turned your pledge card in, good for you! Worry not, we have duplicate and extra pledge cards at the edge of your aisles, along with pens in case you forgot your pledge card at home. If walking down the aisle is not going to work for you today, just raise your hand and an usher will come and get your pledge card and deliver it to the basket for you. For anyone who is here as a guest, welcome. We invite you to just witness this ritual of commitment in our community and be forewarned that one of my first Sundays at a UU church was Pledge Drive Sunday. So you never know where you're going to end up. As we begin our stewardship ritual today, I'd like to invite you each to consider what this moving body of people means to you. What is this ship to you? What journey are you on, and what journey are you on with your people? Why does it matter? And how does this moving line of people passing the phone, saying, "My turn," connect with all of those who came before us and all who will come after? When you're ready, please rise and come forward. Come, let us share our commitment together.
Every week we have an opportunity to practice our values through sharing our resources. Our pledges are at the core of our spiritual practice of generosity. In addition, the church shares half of all the non-pledged cash in our offering plate with a community organization. In this way, we commit our resources in line with our belief that this congregation is interdependent with the world beyond these walls. Today we share the plate with Pathfinders. May the practice of giving bring us joy. The offering will now be gratefully received.
We
Will you please rise in body or spirit and join in a responsive reading printed in your orders of service? This was adapted from an essay by Clarissa Pinkola Estes regarding awakened souls in stormy times. I'll begin. I grew up on the Great Lakes, and I recognize a seaworthy vessel when I see one.
There have never been more able crafts in the waters than there are right now.
And they are fully provisioned and able to signal one another. Look out over the prow.
There are millions of boats of righteous souls on the waters with you.
In a storm, display the lantern of the soul.
Soul on deck shines like gold in dark times.
Struggling souls catch light from others who are fully lit.
And willing to show it.
Even though your veneers may shiver from every wave in this stormy royal.
The long timbers from coasting your prow and rudder come from a greater force.
That long-grained lumber is known to withstand storms, to hold together, to hold its own.
And to advance regardless.
When a great ship is in harbor and moored, it is safe.
But that is not what great ships are built for.
Will you join us in singing our closing hymn in the Teal Hymnal, number 1064,